Now that you've gotten to that part, you're going to impress these things on your children. Now, how do you impress them on your children? By walking this out and letting them see and get an impression of what it looks like in you. See, we think of impress means like, you take something and you actually press something into it and you push it in, you force. I'm going to take this in a different direction because I've seen the other one, it doesn't work anyway. How about impress them so they see that they're impressed with the walk? They're impressed with the fruit. They're impressed with the results. If your house is a disaster and a mess, they're wondering, well, you claim that all this stuff does all this stuff, and yet mommy and daddy are fighting all the time, and all this other junk is happening, and this one's drinking, and this one's doing this other thing, and blah, 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 blah. And this is what that looks like? They're not impressed. So let's take this verse from a whole nother point of view. You need to ask the question, what impression are my children getting? We talk about you get one chance to make a first impression. Of course, everything you do from that point forward is going to either continue their thought process in that impression or maybe have them realize that they got a wrong first impression. But impressions come from the interaction and the observance of what you're doing. Interaction with and observance. So it says, and you shall impress them upon your children. Nowhere does it teach anywhere in Scripture that you force anybody to be Torah observant, that you make them do anything. So I like the word impress there. Okay? And I will tell you that many people around you and your children are not impressed. Not always, but often enough. Now, we all fall short. But remember, and you should already know this if you had children for a little while, they're watching everything. They see everything. How do you know that? Because they'll sound like you and you know they were listening. But they're not sounding like you normally when it's the good stuff. They'll sound like you and they'll be like, well, Dad says that, well, Mom says that. You've made an impression. Whether you wanted to or not, whether you like it or not, if you did it in front of them, it made an impression. You do it often enough, whatever it is, and they see you doing it and the behavior is there, it's going to make an impression, good or bad. So remember, these words, which he was commanding, were supposed to be the thing that make the impression. So how do you make the words make an impression? Well, you don't sit there preaching at them. You do it this way. He says, you speak of them when you sit in your house. Now, you don't speak of them like preaching. You show as opportunity comes up, see, this is where you can see how Torah was right and would have helped in this situation. You bring it up situationally. There's something comes up and happens and you show, oh, see, this is what the Scripture was talking about. The children don't want to be preached at. They haven't gotten necessarily that wake-up moment that you have, but you're making an impression. And so you speak of them when you sit in your house. Because some people think, well, that means you got to walk around, quoting Scripture all day long. It doesn't say that. That's not my opinion. I'm giving you what either is anointed or not anointed opinion. Okay, this is all my opinion as I'm reading the Word to teach you. I believe he's talking about that when situations come up. Look, I do that with all of you when I'm with you and something comes up and you come to me for counsel. I say, and this is where that Scripture will come into play. This is what the Bible was talking about when it said this. It applies here to what you're going through right now. Okay? So that's how you speak of them when you sit in your house. And when you walk by the way, again, life is going to be in your house. Life's going to be when you're not in your house. And when you walk by the way, and when you lie down and when you rise up. In other words, he's trying to say, this is something you should be thinking about all day. It doesn't have breaks in the middle. It's from the time you rise to the time you lay down. Okay? So it's giving you a time frame there. Not just that you have to talk about it as soon as you get your eyes open, and you have to be talking about it again right before they close. But he's giving you a time frame. And then he's giving you more context here. In verse 8, and you shall bind them as a sign on your hand. So it should be openly visible, like a sign would be, in the things that you do, the works of your hands, the things that you do. Should be a sign of who you are in relation to your Creator. I'm a child of the living Elohim. It should be evident in how I work and what I do, as a sign in my actions. And then he says, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. So it should be clear in your thoughts. You should be thinking through the filter of Torah. And this is all happening what? Because Yahweh is supposed to be Echad, because you're supposed to love him with all your heart, being, and might, and because these words are supposed to be in your heart. You see how it all flows together.